Hello, beautiful people. Welcome or welcome back to In Divine Time Tarot. This is Myra, and today I have a video where I'm going to be talking about something that I call the point of destiny. And it's actually something that came through in a download. So earlier today, I had got a download about if you are going through a situation right now and it feels like you're at the point where you feel like you can't hold on anymore, just realize that this is like the breaking point, right? This is the point at which the reality is deconstructing itself so that you can phase into this new reality that you are building for yourself, for your family, for whomever, right? And so today, when I was journaling, I get a lot of downloads through my journaling, sometimes the stuff that comes through that I don't even know about. And I was writing in my journal, and I have this practice of where I take all of the things that are currently happening in my reality right now, right? And I write them down, all of the things that I don't like, that I no longer want anymore, right? And then I write down the opposite of those things. And so when I was writing this list that I normally, I write whenever I want to do this practice, something made me like draw this little line in the middle and put like a dot. So I'm going to show you guys what that looks like without like exposing my journal. So like this, right? And when I wrote it, there was this, I don't know, it was like something that came through and it said the point of destiny. And I really love physics, right? And I started thinking about quantum physics. So I also have a lot of books on quantum physics and quantum mechanics and stuff. And so I looked up what this point could possibly be, right? Like, what would it be if it was scientific? And to my surprise, it was about quantum superpositioning. Now, I'm going to be looking at my notes for this, but I am going to also explain this in like very much simplistic terms so that everyone knows what I'm talking about. Okay, so in quantum theory, before observation or measurement, a particle exists in a superposition. A superposition means that it exists in multiple positions at one time, right? Now, it's like kind of being everything all at once, everywhere all at once, like that, right? And so it can exist in multiple states at one time. Now, the only time that it kind of cements itself and collapses into one particular state or reality is when it is observed, right? And that's called the observer effect. Now, if we take this and we relate this to my point of destiny, so this is how I saw the point of destiny when I was writing it. So after I wrote it, right, and it came into my mind, what I saw was like this collapse happening behind me, like almost like bricks falling, and then it was just like dust, right? And I was at this point where I could see the dust, I could feel like the dust, but then I could also see this ahead of me, whatever this is, right? This ahead of me, this new reality ahead of me, right? So the point of destiny that came through in the download is basically when you were at that in-between point, like I mentioned, where all this chaos is happening, everything is unfolding. You've literally done everything that you could do to improve the situation, but it's not happening because it's not supposed to happen, because that old reality no longer serves you. And so it's collapsing, and you have to stay in alignment with the new reality that you want. So remember when I said on one side of the paper, on the left side of the paper specifically, I wrote all of the things that are no longer part of the reality that I want to experience, right? So these are all of the things that are collapsing for me right now that are seemingly causing chaos if I was unaware of what was happening, right? And then there is the new reality that I'm constructing, that I'm moving towards, all of the things that I desire, the energy, the frequency that I am moving and aligning myself with, right? So I am moving into that energy. And because I am at the middle, right? I'm not quite there yet. This point is called the point of destiny. And at this point, it's like the realities are kind of overlapping with one another. And it feels chaotic. It feels like there is nothing left to do because there is nothing left to do. You've done, if you're at this point, you've done all that you could do. The only thing that you need to do is stay aligned with whatever that thing is or that life is that you're trying to create for yourself. Okay, so let's talk about the observer effect. So in quantum physics, observation influences the outcome. So what you pay attention to influences the outcome. Right? So the observer effect implies that consciousness isn't separate from our physical reality. We actually create our own physical reality. Like, you know when people say mind your thoughts or be careful what you say or like whatever comes out of your mouth and be careful of your thoughts, it's because you're creating that reality for yourself that you're living in. Prime example, people that live in survival mode and always tell themselves that they're poor and they're never going to be able to do this and they're never going to be able to do that, you're constructing a reality for yourself that you're never going to be able to do those things. So out of your mouth comes blessings and curses. So the point of destiny could be that point where you're at, like I said, like you're at that still point. You're at that point in the middle where basically the storm is kind of whipping around you and you feel like you should be doing something or you could be doing something, but you know you've done everything that you can possibly do. Literally the only thing that you can do is stand in this place called the void. This is kind of like that place where, you know, where they say like the eye of the storm, where it's quiet, even though there's chaos happening around you, there's silence. And you kind of don't know what is happening. Like your emotions are kind of up, like is this going to be good, is this going to be bad? But you have to stay centered in this place and focus on the fact that you know where you are going. You know the type of life that you want. And so you have to stay in alignment with that because you already know that this reality behind you is collapsing. It no longer serves you. So don't be scared and give up because you think, oh, well, let me just go back to what I know. And that's what happens with a lot of people. When they get to this point of at that point of destiny, they get scared. And so they turn around and go back to what's familiar. And then they wonder why there's no growth. They wonder why there's no change. They wonder why they are going through the same repeated cycles that they've already been through. And it's because instead of going forward into this new reality, flourishing, they decided to go back into a place where it was collapsing all around them. Now, there is an author, pretty sure maybe a lot of people know about him, called Neville Goddard. Now he has this metaphysical framework and it's called the Bridge of Incidents. Bridge of Incidents is when you have unpredictable events that unfold once you've impressed a new reality onto your consciousness. So our brain likes to protect us from things, right? It likes to keep us safe. And how does it keep us safe? By putting us in situations that are predictable, right? It knows what's going to happen. There's a safety in knowing what's going to happen. But the problem with that is that growth doesn't happen in a place where you know everything that's going to happen, right? It happens in the not knowing and the ability to learn and the ability to grow and the ability to move forward, right? And so Neville Goddard talks about this bridge of incidents and saying that once we've impressed these new realities onto our consciousness, our mind starts thinking like, okay, well, this is a new experience. I don't know about this. You know, something could go wrong. It's kind of like the imposter syndrome where you start thinking about, like, you hype yourself up like, oh yeah, I know I want to do this thing. And then all of a sudden your brain starts telling you, but you know, maybe you can't do it. I mean, do you really got the skills? Do you really get the talent? It's just like in your mind, right? Your mind, not your brain. In your mind, you know that you could do this. But when that imposter syndrome kicks in, it's just like, I don't know. This is the new reality that you're impressing on your consciousness. Your brain is fighting against it because it's something new, it's something different, it's something unpredictable. But you have to stay in alignment with that energy and move forward. Now, there is another author by the name of Vadim Zeland who came up with this concept called reality transurfing. And the idea is that when you shift into a new vibrational signature, that the old one destabilizes before the new one begins. This is why I'm saying being in that in-between space, right? So being like in the midst of that collapse while also this new reality is starting to form. It can be a scary place to be in if you're not aware of what's happening. And even when you are aware of what's happening, it's still extremely tumultuous to work through that energy and to exist in that space. And so the point of destiny is like, it is that uncertain place that we kind of, float in when those realities are collapsing and rebuilding over and over again. Now, it's kind of like almost like a paradoxical state in a way, because what we're doing is that we are holding this alignment for this new reality that maybe we haven't seen, or maybe we haven't completely worked out 100%, but we know that it's better than this one over here to our left. But it doesn't change the fact that as human beings, we get scared. We feel like we can't keep going. It's 11:11. Just as I said that, I looked up 11:11. And I know that I should be sharing this message with y'all because I feel like there are a lot of people that are in this place right here. You're at your point of destiny right here. You're at your point of destiny, and you feel like, let's say that this is the point, right? That's like this, my fingers are the point. You want to go back to the left because this is what you're familiar with, but you're aligning yourself with the right. Don't go back out of fear. Don't let your fear push you back into a place where you won't grow, where you know you won't grow, right? And so on a psychological level, right? So for my people that are into psychology as well, because I'm also into psychology too, right? There's something called a liminal space. Now, psychology describes this as like kind of like a state in between where your old realities, or your old not your old realities, but your old identities are dissolving to form new ones, right? And so anthropologists also describe this as like this sacred space or sacred right where it feels confusing and disorienting, but it is necessary. And this is what I'm talking about when I say like that chaos, because it is literally the pulling down and the destruction of a reality that you have probably been living in for years into a place where you haven't been yet. This is a whole new version of you that you haven't been yet. This is a whole new reality that you are creating for yourself, a more abundant one, a more connected one, whatever it is that you are trying to, or that you are not trying to, that you are moving into, right? And so that can be scary sometimes because you don't know all the details, but you know all the details of that old reality, and you know you ain't going anywhere with that one because there's no growth. So don't do it. Like I told y'all before, I grew up Christian, right? So I started thinking about that story from the Bible about the city of Sodom, right? And so God told this man and his wife to leave the city because it was corrupt, or whatever it was. And so he told them not to look back. So the city in a spiritual sense represented the old world, familiar chaos, attachments to identity and comfort, right? On just if I'm analyzing this, right? But his wife had looked back, right? Even though she was told not to look back, she looked back and she turned into a pillar of salt. Now, if we think about salt, right? Salt is crystallized, and salt preserves, but it also halts the ability to be able to grow. So when we are in the in-between, right? When we're at our point of destiny right here in the middle, and we see our old reality collapsing in front of our faces, right? We're in the midst of it. And we're looking forward to this new reality, this new identity that we are stepping into, like this new frequency that we are stepping into. When we look back and put our focus on this and think about stepping a toe back into this, right? There's no growth that is going to happen if we go back into that. We have to let it collapse. And so when his wife had turned into that pillar of salt, that was it. She became a monument, frozen in time, so to speak, right? Because she was never going to grow in that reality. So in quantum terms, looking back it's like collapsing the wave, right? Because when a particle again is being observed, the wave collapses, right? And then that's the reality that it becomes. Now, if we are re-observing it because it's the reality that we've already outgrown, and we entangle ourselves into this old reality and then expect to see a different outcome, like it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, right now the US is going through some crazy shit. Like the world is going through some crazy stuff, right? And everyone's like, all these people should never voted for Trump, etc., etc. I agree, he's a horrible person. But if we take a step back and we look at it from an observer effect, this old reality of the US, but let's scale it up and think about the world in aspects of power. All of these people, all of these greedy people that are at the top, that hold this power, we see right now that these governments, these power structures are in collapse, and they're literally doing everything that they can to keep us under their boot. From these digital IDs saying, oh, you can't get a job, you can't do nothing if you don't have these digital IDs. If people think about it like, oh, this is the form of control, this is because they are losing control. They are losing control. Their reality of power that they've had for so long is collapsing. And so they are fighting tooth and nail to hold on to this. And I've talked about this before, but their reality is deconstructing. And so we're moving into the new reality, right? And so these people that are in power right now, including Donald Trump, if we look back, we'll see that this is not even about Donald Trump, right? This is about the collapse of a power structure that is no longer working for humankind. And we need to get back to being interconnected with one another, interdependent on one another, kind, loving, all of those things to one another. But these realities can't exist at the same time. We can't have the greedy people wanting to control everything and this at the same time, right? Because these people are never going to allow this to happen. So these people got to go. In order for these people to go, for these systems that they've built up to go, it has to be demolished. It has to be demolished. And unfortunately, we are in the midst of this chaos that is happening, right? Whether you're here, another country, doesn't matter. We are in the midst of it. We are feeling it. Everyone is feeling it, right? But let's not keep our eyes off of the new reality that's happening. Right? Let's not take our eyes off of this. Let's not look back like that lady and turn into pillars of salt and be like, oh, well, if we would have elected Kamala, none of this would have happened, right? Right. None of this probably wouldn't have never happened. But also, nothing would have happened. There would have been no change in terms of the growth that we needed to happen. Specifically, the way that the government, the United States, has been designed, it was no way that this thing was ever going to last for too long. It had to collapse, because look at the roots of how it started. It started with poison, and so it was going to end with poison. And so, I just want you guys to know that if you're going through, because it seems like everybody is going through it right now, you know what I mean? I want you to realize that we right now as a collective, right, but also as individuals, we are literally at this point of destiny. There is no going back. There is only moving forward, right? And it's uncomfortable, but don't give up. Don't give up. Align yourself with the frequency of the life that you want to create for yourself, right? If you want better health, if you want better abundance, if you want whatever it is that you desire, I want you to do that activity, the same one that I do all the time, where I write down in my journal, like literally I do like this. I do a list just like this, and then I just write, sometimes I write old reality, new reality, or sometimes I write don't, and then I write desire. Now, when I do that, I write down all of the things in my life that I am not that I feel like I'm past. You know what I mean? All of the things. So if there's a certain situation that I feel as though I'm struggling with right now or that I'm going through, I write that down. Let's say it was I need a new car. I would write down that you know, my frustrations with my current car. And then here I would write, I have a car that works perfectly, you know, that works perfect, it's brand new, and it's completely paid off. I don't have a car note, right? I would write that down because that's the new reality that I'm going into. And then I would just list this down and then write the opposite on each page. And then in the middle, with my point of destiny, I will come back to this list and look at this again and again when I feel like I'm falling out of alignment. And how do you know if you feel like you're falling out of alignment? You feel like you're giving into the chaos of what's going on around you. So for some people, you may have to keep this list as a screensaver on your phone. For other people, you may be able to just go to a mental space in your head and repeat, you know, that this is just the point of destiny that I'm at and that my new reality is forming right now. I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful for my new reality. And I'm so happy that this old reality that no longer serves me is collapsing so that I can fully embrace the newness, the magnitude of my new reality. And so let me know how that works for you. I know it works tremendously for me. But that's it, guys. I know this is like a really random video, but when I got this downloaded, I just had to share. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.